Hey guys, welcome back to the Nemesis Gaming League. I'm your friend Gallium, and for the last matchup of the night, last Wednesday we had an insane last matchup of the night, and I feel like this could kind of test the limits of insanity here as we have two very good Chally teams, two positive Chally teams, looking to see who can get this crucial win here. I'm Gallium. I'm joined here by Ventus, the absolute GOAT Titan player. I mean, how you doing today, Ventus?
I'm doing a lot better than that. You just gassed me up like that, you
Yep.
know. And I like what you did with the gameplay because it looks like we are going to have Insano subbing in for Snowstorm today, I believe. So I like what you did there as well. But I'm doing fantastic. Just excited for this game, and it's going to be a very good one as you were talking about because this game is going to be a big decider in who's going to win the Atlantic Division. We have Snowstorm at 5-1 currently, and Gryphons at 3-3. But if Gryphons were to win this game, they put Snowstorm at 5-2, and they themselves go to 4-3. And so Gryphons, a much needed win for them if they're looking to clinch or take the division from Snowstorm, and obviously Snowstorm wanting to hold on to their divisional lead and are going to be able to do much more handedly if they win this game. So it should be a very good matchup.
Yeah, of course. And you touched on the Snowstorm roster, Insano subbing. And so it's going to be Dan, Insano, and Goose versus Mealey, JrodH, and Crow. Kiwi not available today. And I get to see my boy Crow Terra. He was actually in Provisional back in Season 9, I believe. And now he's in the Challenger League. So he's made quite the jump in the past couple of seasons. Excited to see how he's going to play here as we are underway here. As Goose already off the backboard. Dan versus Mealey, GM on GM violence here, as both these GMs want a win so desperately for their squad, but JrodH is going to put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that's a great play there. Just able to capitalize off the mistouch by Insano, just banging it away. Goose not able to get back, and it's a very straight misplay from the side of Snowstorm, and just not a great touch from Insano. And you're looking as for Insano to be one of those players that are able to come into any team and hold their own in the Challenger League as a free agent, and kind of make a name for themselves and get a team to potentially pick them up. So unfortunate start for Snowstorm and an unfortunate start for Insano.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're playing Nem 6 mans, you're most likely going to see Insano. He's made a name for himself. He really wants to be on a team, and I think this is kind of like a tryout for him a little bit. So excited to see how this game goes down the stretch as we have Goose sending it over to Mealey. Mealey gonna get one, hopefully get a second, but he's gonna opt for the demo instead. Can't make contact. Crow sends it down. Dan gonna collect this one. JrodH, beautiful dunk from him. It was on target, but Goose gonna get a save. Dan down to Crow Terra, gets one. Can he follow it up? No, Dan gonna beat him there right in front of the net. And now Mealey down to Crow Terra, almost back to Mealey. That could have been an insane play, Ventus.
Yeah, and a great 1-2 there, almost a 1-2-3. Back to the original player. But I mean, almost an insane play to open up the scoring for them. And you're looking for these passing plays as both these teams having that sub in. Maybe not expecting a bunch of team chemistry already coming out, but if you're able to string those types of passes together early into the series, the sky's the limit with how you're going to be able to adapt to each other, as we see it almost a redirect there from Crotero.
I feel like both these teams, it just comes down to, I feel like, I hate to say it, but individual performances. Crow Terra gonna have a beautiful goal here in his individual performance. I mean, he's looking real good so far.
Yeah, it's a great pass by JrodH there, and Crotera able to beat the last defender to that ball and put it just around them to get the open net. And Griffin's gonna go up 2-0 early in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, great start for the Gryphons so far. I never got to get your prediction, Ventus. You mind sharing with the class who you think is gonna win this series?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do my unbiased. I obviously the Griffins have already scored 2 goals and have looked very dominant, but I'm gonna throw that all out the window. I'm gonna believe in the Snowstorm comeback. I believe that Snowstorm Insano's gonna be able to pull off a crazy game. Dan gonna hold it down, and Goose is gonna pop off, and I think Snowstorm are gonna take it in game number 5, I think that they're going to start out a little slow. They might drop game number 1, maybe even drop game number 2, but they're going to come back and pull off the reverse sweep or potential, upset. Or, well, I guess not upset, but, come back here to win the series.
Before I saw who was playing for both teams, I thought this was going to be a close one, but with Flurry missing one of their players entirely, I mean, as good as Insano is, it's kind of hard to mesh into a team, especially mid-season, and especially if you have two players who play very similar play style. I'm not necessarily saying Dan and Goose play like that, but you get what I mean. I'm gonna honestly go 3-0 Gryphons personally. I mean, you can't go against my boy Mealey. I mean, he's got it all figured out in the Chally League. He's a rival drop down. So, I mean, he's got absolutely insane mechanics, but oh my goodness, the pass and the shot, oh, just beautiful.
And there's no bias there with Gryphons being up 2-0 and scoring as you're saying that either, right, Gallium?
Yeah, no.
I mean, a great play by Mealey, just as you're talking about him. He shows off his stuff with a great pass in the midfield, and Gryphons going up 3-0 in this game number 1, showing out very strong early as another goal potentially coming out. A great flick from Crotera, able to be put home by JrodH. And, I mean, that's exactly what you want to see if you're a Gryphons fan, which, it seems like Gallium is. So, but, Gryphons really strong opening, 7 shots, and able to convert 4 of those into goals. All 4 of those goals are assisted. Gryphons seem to be clicking already.
I mean, the last time I saw Crow play, he was in provisional, so this is just absolutely shocking to me to see how much better he's gotten in this short amount of time. But I mean, I think the unsung hero for this Gryphons team is JrodH. I mean, he's so good, especially at shooting, and he's so quick. And also, he's cracked at Clash of Clans. I had to throw that in there. He's an absolute dog. So, I mean, I'm excited to see him. But on the other end of things, I'm looking for Dan to really step up. I mean, I know he's a good player, but it seems like on stream he doesn't do as well as, you know what? He got a nice save there. I can't keep hating on the Danster because apparently he's gonna pop off. But I believe the last time I saw him on stream, it was I want to say Novice League Grand Finals, like season 9. I want to say, and he unfortunately lost in Game 6. So hopefully Dan can get a win this time around, but it's looking pretty unlikely as Gryphons are most likely going to take this game 1. Insano going to send a shot, and oh my goodness, what a beautiful shot.
Yeah, and that one, it's gonna bridge the gap in the scoring a little bit. A good beat on Mealey and putting it perfectly top corner around JrodH. I mean, it's a great shot from Insano, and it's a good little bit momentum booster going into game number 2. Obviously, Gryphons, most likely, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, are going to take game number 1, being up 3 goals with 20 seconds left. But at least Snowstorm have generated some signs of offense, have been able to withstand some of the Gryphons' pressure, and all is not for naught. All is not whatever.
Hey,
it's not.
I got it.
It's not nothing. You know what I mean? They have shown signs that they are able to keep up with the Gryphons, and it looks like Mealey gonna drop this one in for just a 0-second goal there. But Gryphons do look very good. But I'm praying Snowstorm is able to, click somewhere and able to come back here. Obviously for my prediction, but also just because I want a good series between these two.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams obviously just totally different in how they normally operate, but Gryphons looking so good so far. Looking like another day at the office for them. But Snowstorm, I saw some signs of life towards the end. Obviously, they only had 4 shots on net, so that needs to go up a little bit. But main thing I'm worried about is Dan and Goose. They just really didn't get the beats that I think they wanted to get, because most of the time when they made contact with the ball, it was either a 50 that didn't go their way, or it was a ball that they either missed or got behind them. So I think they just need to improve their awareness of the opponent's touches and their own car. And I think honestly they could make a comeback here against this Gryphon squad. I mean, they're 5-1 for a reason. They're pretty cracked, and obviously they're without Itrotz and Crates, and Itrotz actually was player of the week this week. So huge loss to them. So I think that'd be even more impressive that they won this, especially against this very good Griffin squad. But we're in to game number 2, taking a trip down to the train station, and I'm buying my ticket right now for the show. Is JrodH gonna miss his touch, and Goose gonna get his first goal of the series?
Yeah, and that's a good opening for Snowstorm there. A great touch there by Insano, and it looks like a whiff coming out from JrodH, just zero boost, trying to get there as fast as possible. And you're taking it taking a trip for the long way around for Snowstorm, as they're gonna finally put one home and start off game number 2 with the lead.
Wow, W reference, Ventus. Good work, good work, man. As we saw Mealey attempt to go for a musty there. That is his specialty. I've played with Mealey quite a bit, and we don't unfortunately do a lot of winning because I'm on the team. But what he is known for is mainly his musty ability, in my opinion, because I feel like it's such a slept-on mechanic, especially off the sidewall, because you can generate so much power, and it catches them off guard. What a shot from Goose. He seems to have a magnet attached to the back of the Griffin's net, as Mealey going to send it down. Crotera going to be there to deflect it down the pitch, and now Goose going to have to corral it. Gets demoed for his troubles. JrodH off the backboard, going to get another touch, gets it past the whole defense, and Dan's just going to do him a favor, and it's tied 1-1.
Yeah, that was such a close, almost save from Dan, just not able to get it, almost able to put it to that crossbar, but a great play by JrodH and a solo play, which we haven't seen much from the Gryphons so far in this series. I mean, we've seen a lot of their passing plays and their ability to string passes together, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but JrodH showing he can just do it all on his own as well, and able to put one up for the Gryphons and tie up the game. But I'm really excited to see. I mean, Goose has looked a lot better. I'm still looking for Dan to step up. And you're talking, in between games. Oh, a great shot by Crotera in the corner, and gonna find the back of the net, catching the defense kind of sleeping here, as Insano not expecting anybody to challenge that ball, and Mealey not able to get to that touch either. So obviously not expecting a second player of the Gryphons to dive into the corner like that. But Crotera gonna find the back of the net with an insane shot.
Ventus, have you seen the movie American Sniper?
No, I have not.
Well, that's basically what just happened. Crow absolutely sniped that one in the back of the net. I mean, I didn't even see him on my screen until the ball was sailing towards the net. So an insane shot from him. But, as you mentioned, I do think Dan does need to step up a little bit. I mean, he wants this win super badly. An insane save from him, though. That is one thing he has been doing well, and that is the defensive side of the pitch, as he's going to go for a musty himself. GM on GM musty off we have here as Goose. Gonna get a touch, gonna get bumped away. Crotera wreaking havoc in net, but Mealey doesn't have boost. And Goose gonna make a beautiful play, a much needed play, because that could have been real dangerous. Off the backboard it goes. Crotera gonna send it to the sidewall. Dan gonna get a touch himself, and now Crotera gets demoed. And now JrodH's gonna have to collect this and buy some time. He gets it past one. Mealey sending it out. Crotera, a risky challenge, but a challenge that he's going to be glad that he took, as Dan gets boost, gets a nice 50. The ball is up. Insano. Can he put it away? Oh no, he just barely misses the open net. And you know what? As they say, Ventus, the hardest shot in the game is what, Ventus? What would you say the hardest shot in the game is?
It's an open net.
Yep.
And it looks like maybe an open net opportunity going to be saved. A great save by Dan. Almost another open net opportunity for the side of Gryphons, but Dan able to get back. And you talked about Dan and his great defensive skills, but he's also able to generate a lot of, offensive ability with his team as well, and we just have not seen that yet. A shot by JrodH, and he kind of just expected, who was that, Insano to get a touch, and when he didn't, it looks like a ghost touch came out. Not even gonna lie, I saw a ghost touch on my screen, so obviously JrodH not kind of expecting, he just kind of let go of the controller, but his car was already lined up for the shot, gonna put that one home, give the Gryphons a 3-0 lead. But I was talking about Dan, and he's still able to generate the... Maybe I just need to stop talking about Dan, because Gryphons seem to always score when I try to talk about Dan. And I mean, a good shot there by Mealey, and Insano having to play the touch by JrodH. and not able to get the touch from Mealey. That one's gonna give the Gryphons a 4-1 lead, and I'll just stop talking about Dan.
Aren't you glad I didn't make you make your prediction now? Because I mean, it would have been some bias there. It's looking like right now, Snowstorm are gonna lose this game. Statistically, it's looking like that. But wait, Insano could tip the scales here if he can get to this, and of course he can. It is now a 2-goal difference between both these teams, and can Snowstorm slowly crawl their way back into this one?
Yeah, and that's a good play there by Insano, just able to get the beat on one, and Crotera trying to take a little bit too much time and trying to control the ball, which, Gryphons have done really well with controlling the ball and good first touches so far in this series, so I'm not surprised that he tried to go for a controlled touch there, but maybe a little bit too greedy, because Insano was, breathing down the back of his neck and able to put that one away, but he's not able to put that one away as two shots off the crossbar, much needed goals from Snowstorm, and they are unable to do so.
Wow, as a great pass from Mealey to JrodH, Crotera is going to be the one to finish. And you know what? The difference between both these teams are the execution. Gryphons executing on a high level right now, but whenever Snowstorm get an opportunity, they just can't find the back of the net. And this time for the Gryphons, it's going to be Crotera. And Crotera is having himself a game. 2 goals, 1 assist, 1 save on 2 shots. I mean, he's shooting 100%. I mean, that's a guy you want on your Nemesis fantasy team. Any fantasy owners. I mean, I think you have a fantasy team, right, Ventus?
I do have a fantasy team.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually currently sitting at 2-0. My fantasy team has been great. And it looks like Dan, finally, as soon as I don't talk about Dan, Dan's going to show up big here and get a goal. It looks like a good bump against Crotera from Goose, and Dan going to put that one open net. And there's still 40 seconds left. Snowstorm could make a comeback here. But yeah, Crotera having a great series so far. I know last game he had about 500 points with 2 more goals and an assist as well. So he's been a big help to this Gryphons roster and a big reason why they're doing so well. But Goose saying that Snowstorm is not done and out yet. Gonna put a great shot on target there from a great pass from Insano, and it looks like Insano kind of starting to realize and mesh with Snowstorm, having 3 assists so far in this game number 2.
Yeah, it was a little careless from the Gryphons. They went for a little bit of a risky play, 2 pre-jumps, and they tried to pass it to each other midair. So it's plays like that that just can't happen, especially if you're trying to close the game out. As Insano is just going to play, it seems like kickball with the ball real quick. He's just kicking it up to himself as Crotera is going to get a touch. 10 seconds remaining. Can the Gryphons pull this one out, or can Snowstorm make a surprising comeback here? Insano gets a touch over to Goose. Goose with 0 boost. It's off the side while Mealey is going to help Snowstorm up and keep the ball up in the air, but it's eventually going to fall to the turf. Gryphons up 2-0. And, even though it was a little closer of a game this time, I feel like Gryphons are still in the driver's seat. And, this train, it's heading to the station soon. And Snowstorm, I don't think they have anything to stop this Gryphons team right now. So they need to find some kind of magic. I saw some good plays coming out from Insano and Goose and Dan as well on the defensive side. So they just need to mesh better together, and I feel like slowly but surely they're gonna find their way. And you predicted Game 5, am I correct, Ventus?
I did. I also predicted that Snowstorm would lose game number 1 and 2. I said that they were going to start off a little slow, and then they were going to be able to figure things out in game number 3. And I mean, it seems like so far in game number 2, they started putting some of the pieces back together. I talked about Insano getting 3 assists there, and, Goose and Dan finally starting to put some of those goals away and those opportunities, and they still missed some of those opportunities as well. They weren't able to capitalize on a couple open nets, and if you count those, I mean, obviously they didn't score those, but if you were to count those, Snowstorm would have actually won. So I think it's a little bit closer than you realize between these two teams, and I'm hoping that Snowstorm is able to prove me right here as we kick off game number 3.
For Snowstorm's sake, I'm just gonna recognize Insano, Goose, and there's a third mysterious player that I don't really know who he is. Just for their sake, because whenever we talk about Okay. All right. Well, JrodH just gonna shut me up. It seems like the Gryphons have just found their
The
stride
universe
way too
knows.
early. Yeah. All right.
As soon as us casters talk about Dan, the Griffins seem to always score, and even when we didn't mention him by name, it seems like
It's
the
like
universe.
Voldemort,
He who shall not be named is,
bro.
I mean, a great play there by JRod, and it looks. I remember a demo was the opening to that scoring opportunity. So a great demo. I don't remember who exactly had that demo, but it was a great play nonetheless.
Oh, 100%. Griffins have just been helping each other out immensely. Their team play is unparalleled, but wait a second. Could be a little dangerous. Dan unable to reach that one, and Mealey over to Crotera. It's freer than a soup kitchen. Crotera is going to get his first of the game.
Yeah, and Mealey just beating one, getting a pop past two, tapping it by the third man, doing all the work. Crotera able to just score the open net, one of the hardest things to do in all of Rocket League, and Griffins opening up very strong in game number 3. Maybe they saw my prediction and decided they wanted to go against the train, but Goose kind of getting a little roller in a pinch 50, I believe, off of Mealey, and it's gonna hit post and bounce in. I mean, a Snowstorm, even though it wasn't really a goal that they earned, it's at least a start.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I feel as though that is the goal that's going to spark things for them. Hopefully, is wait, that might just go in almost. It's off the backboard. And Sano with a shot. JRod going to bat it away. Dan off the backboard. Can someone get there? No. Goose going all the way back with a ton of boost. He's going to send it over to the side. Mealey going to corral that one. It's floating in front of the Snowstorm yet again. And Crotera is yet again going to get another goal.
Yeah, and I mean that's another one of those things where we saw they had a couple of shot opportunities for the side of Snowstorm, but not able to put them on target. As it might have been a tough shot for Dan, but he kind of put it off the backboard and just allowed the Griffins to have a counterattack with only Goose as the last man back in a very difficult position. So one of those things where you really want to try to capitalize on those opportunities. But Griffins have done really well, this series and this game, just being able to get the beats on Snowstorm, generate pressure, and really just whenever they generate pressure, they're just able to score. It's seemingly on command with a great shot by Mealey, but an even better save by Goose.
Yeah, that was almost clip worthy, but Goose, he has to be a little bit of a party pooper sometimes, and I feel like he's been the only one on the Snowstorm side who's really come alive. And regardless of that goal, it just seems as though he's the only one playing defense. And you know what? The only time he's not playing defense, of course, a goal goes in.
Yeah, it's such an awkward transition between Dan and Insano there. I mean, Insano completely leaving the ball to rotate back. Dan trying to push up early, it seems like, to create some of that pressure. He gets an awkward position to be put the ball around him, and then Insano kind of has to try to half flip to get back as he over rotated from back post to front post, and it's just like that defensive misrotation from the Snowstorm side of things is continuously allowing goals to be scored on the side of Gryphons, and Gryphons unrelenting in their pursuit of continuous goals.
That what, this game might be a wash, this series might be a wash, but you know what, Snowstorm, why don't you get some goals for us for the road? I know some of the Sub-Zero org fanatics are not going to be too happy with this result, but I think overall can't really put it past them. I mean, they didn't have their entire roster. They didn't have their top 2 players, and they sub in a brand new guy who, I think he's played well. He just doesn't rotate and mesh well with the team, and Crotera is potentially setting this team up for a trip to Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have enough time for that. And, I mean, Gryphons at this point, obviously, just trying to take the Nemesis fantasy members who have them on their teams. Just they want those guys to win for the week. Crotera with 3 goals, Mealey with 3 assists and a goal.
Oh my god!
It looks like another assist and another goal from JRod, and they do get the Brazil and they're just gonna continue to score. I mean, this game is all but over. Even though there is 2 minutes left, I don't see Snowstorm coming back.
I mean, this is just absolutely a cakewalk for the Griffins so far. But as I was saying, I mean, this is why it's super important to coordinate with your captains. For anyone listening, coordinate with your captains to find a time where you all can be available, because it's times like these where you're missing your top two players, where you're really like, dang, you know what? I wish I had the two best players on the team, but you know what? Snowstorm, I honestly, I thought they put up a better fight than I thought they were going to. I mean, especially given the circumstances. Given my flowers, of course, to Goose, I feel like despite his MMR being one of the lowest in Chally, he has been playing way above his pay grade as Dan gets a shot. JrodH trying to protect the Brazil, and he ends up doing so successfully. Mealey maybe ruining the Brazil, and of course he does, because Mealey hates any sort of fun.
Yeah, and I mean just a great bump by JrodH, just not even caring about the Brazil, going for that last
Wow.
defender, immediately gonna take another goal to give himself a second for the game. Maybe the Griffins are trying to get a hat trick on every single player. That would be very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Oh my
Props
gosh.
to.
Oh, please. Please, Snowstorm. Do something.
They just want this game to be over, and Griffins are not letting them do so. I mean, continuous goals. I mean, there's no way Snowstorm can win, but there is a way that they can stop letting Griffins score.
You know what, Ventus, I think there's a secret key to all of this, and you're going to be so surprised by this answer. I think it's playing defense. You know, I think that's the real key. But I feel
What's
like
that?
their issue. Oh yeah, of course. I don't play defense, but you know, I expect other teams to, because please. Oh my gosh. Okay. But but basically, I feel like Snowstorm's biggest problem is they're just like laying back and just letting Griffins do what they want. You know, they're just sitting back on their heels in their zone and basically just allowing the Griffins, you know, they're like, you know what, I invite all the bumps and all the demos and all the shenanigans in front of our net. And it's really costing them, especially in this game. This is one of the most lopsided games
Hey.
I've casted in a while, as Goose gonna put one away. And finally, we see the blue team finally get a goal here.
It looks like my prediction might have been a little wrong.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you're trying to save me from asking for your prediction too late. You know, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I just had it would have seemed biased if I voted for Griffins after they already scored 2 goals. I just couldn't do it. I had to be biased to the other side just because I didn't want to seem biased. That's
You
really
know,
what it was.
you're a good
I
man,
definitely
Arthur
would have
Morgan.
picked. I definitely would have picked Griffins to win. You know, retrospectively.
You know what?
But
That's
the
okay.
clock finally winding down here. Another goal
Please.
coming out
No.
on the side of Griffins. They want the 1 second remaining. The game's not over yet, but it really should be.
Oh my
Griffins
gosh.
currently winning 10-2. I mean, there's not even anything else we can really say about this game. I mean,
Well,
it's
no,
all
no,
but
no, no.
over.
Ventus. Mealey did it. Every player on their team has a hat trick. That is
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
As
it's
a little lopsided, but you know, Griffins, they got it done. A very convincing fashion. But regardless, you know, Snowstorm, they can always bounce back. They only lost, besides this game, one other game. So I feel like they have definitely a ways to go in terms of maybe this roster ever going on the pitch again. But, you know, I feel like they did all right, but Griffins just looked that much better. I feel like Crotera surprised me with his performance. I mean, he he's the fourth man on this roster in terms of MMR, but he did not look like that. He was looking incredible. It just seemed like they all synergized, and that's just an easy Griffins win. And a win that they desperately need, you know, to try to catch up to the Snowstorm team in the standings. I mean, if you watched this game and had no context, you'd be like, how are the Griffins below these guys in the standings? But yeah, you know, it was a great game overall, Ventus. Any final thoughts about this game?
I mean, not really, not too much. I mean, you would hope that Snowstorm would have put a hand up a little bit more in game three, but I mean, props to the Gryphons. I mean, they just wanted to win. Yeah, they came out there like, yeah, we know they don't have their two starters, but we don't care. We're just gonna go out and try to score as many goals
I mean,
and
can
just
you
try
blame
to
them?
try to stat pad. No, I do not. If I were playing, as a perma sub in purgatory, I wish I would be able to play and could try to stat pad like that. But unfortunately, I am a sub for life. But that can't stop you, Gallium, from later doing it. I know you have a game later
Uh-oh.
with Jaegers, and I'm wishing you the best in that series. I believe you're playing Rockerman, so obviously
Yeah.
I'm gonna be rooting for you. But I mean, I guess that's gonna wrap things up for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time ever playing Rocker Man, so I'm scared about, his aura. He just has so much aura. But thank you, Ventus, again for casting with me. It's always a pleasure. I think this is our first cast together, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've ever casted
Yeah,
with you.
I think so.
It was a great
Yeah.
first time. Hope to cast with you for again in the future. And you guys have a great rest of your night. I appreciate you guys for sticking with us throughout all these three games, and I hope you got at least a little bit of joy out of one of these three games. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday for some insane matchups, and I'll be casting yet again. And Ventus, are you casting on Wednesday? I believe you are, right?
Yes, I am. Yep.
So if you like, so you feel like me and Ventus, you just gotta stay tuned until Wednesday. But that's gonna be all from us. You guys have a great rest of your night, and peace out.